Hi and welcome back. And sorry it's been a while since we've put a video out. We've been really busy over the summer trying to get lots and lots of jobs done to make sure that the house was weather tight and as airtight as we could be as we went into winter. So we've recorded quite a lot of material but haven't had time to put those out. So as you can see, we've progressed really quite well with the open plan living space behind me. I'm in the middle of editing another video about the insulation and compliance with Part L. And in that I'll talk about the challenges we've had about the quality of the insulation that have been installed here and the challenges that we had with the room. And one of those was actually about the angle of the steels, or one of the steels not being level, and how we had to work around that. And I'll cover that in a bit of detail in just a moment, but in front of me that we'll look at in a moment, we've got a large patio door about 6 meters across and a glass gable end to the building. And we didn't realize until the windows were delivered that the steels at one end have been installed about 18 millimeters lower than the other. So you could see that across the head of the window, and it tapered across the room. Now, the builder had clearly been aware of that and had tried to correct it. We've got quite a low pitch on the ceiling here that you can see with the vaulted ceiling behind me. It's about 22 degrees. So they'd battened all of that ceiling to try and bring it lower so that the insulation could carry on across the roof and meet up with the gable end glass. When we looked at that, we found that whilst that worked on one side, it certainly didn't line up on the other side of the roof. So we made the decision to take down all of the battening that had been installed, remove all of the insulation, and refit all of that with Gapo tape. So that actually took us quite a while, I think almost 2 weeks in the end, to take all of that insulation down, cut it to size, and then work out how we could make the end of the building look symmetrical, even though it isn't necessarily with the lineup of the steels. So we've done that, put Gapo tape up in the ceiling, vapor control layer across that, and then we've put these sheets of insulated plasterboard up on the ceiling, and that's got I think a 65 or 67 millimeters of additional insulation. So we did that using a lifting platform to pull all of that up. We're just about finished. One of the other challenges that we had was the insulation hadn't gone into the edge of the room, and I'll cover that in more detail on my Part L video, but we had wind blowing through this room, so what we actually did there was cut and shaped Celotex into as a big amount as we could into the edge there, put some battens in, put some expanding foam in, and pushed those blocks in to give us a nice airtight seal up to that Gapo tape. So really quite pleased with the quality of insulation that we've got in there now. And we're just about ready for the plastering to be done. So as you can see, I've just got to finish the ridge along the top here, the returns around the Velux windows up into the ceiling, and then I'm going to let the plasterers do the dot and dabbing on the various walls and get all of this done. So hopefully that'll be happening in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So really pleased with how that's been going on. As you can see behind me as well, we've got the kitchen as finished as I want to at this point. So all the appliances are in and working. Everything's all leveled up. The doors are all squared up. I'm going to wait till we finish the other work to fit the final trim. There's lots of metal trim to go around the island, lighting to go in there, and I'll fit the kick strips once the floor's in. But that's all installed and fully functional with our cooker tap, dishwasher, freezer, fridge, and ovens. And most of those devices are Bosch or Neff with the Home Connect internet connected protocol, which can also link through to my locks-on system. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with some of those connected appliances, to be fair, but they are there as an option. So let's have a look at the steel and the challenges that we have. So this is the patio doors and glass gable end that we've got in the room. The room's about, I think, 7.5 meters wide, something like that, around 6 meters across the window there. And when the windows were installed, we noticed that I could get my fingers through between the top of the door and the steel on this side, and at the other end, the steel came down below the top of the window frame. So obviously, when we boarded that steel, we were going to see that difference across the room. So, the challenge was, how do we manage to hide that by boxing it in and packing it? And I've spent a while trying to work out how we were going to do that. But just so you can see what we're talking about here, just roughly I've got the laser here in the middle of the steel on that side of the room, and obviously the steel is straight, but we come across to this side and hopefully you can see the centre of the steel is in that gap there, and we've got nearly an 18mm drop from one side to the other. So I had to correct this on the outside of the building as well. So I measured that and machined some packers. So you can see at this end I've used some 18mm OSB, and then I've got a planer thicknesser machine. So I worked out across the room what width I needed to go to fit as we go across the room to taper that the correct way. So on the bottom here I've got 18mm packers at this side to level that up till we get the other end there. And on the top obviously I had the problem the other way round, so I've had to put an 18mm packer at the top here and gradually machine those down to square that off at the other end. So what we will have is a square looking box that hides the fact that that steel isn't square. What I then found when we looked at the ceiling further up was obviously what we later realised was it was this vertical steel on this end that had been put down too low. So the angle of the top here was different. So on the left hand side I had a symmetrical gap from the bottom of the roof to the top, and that's what the builder had battened the ceiling for. But on this side I had a 15mm taper from one end to the other. So again I've had to pack out all of that plasterboard to get that to look true, and you know, with a symmetrical gap on either side. So it took me, you know, looked at this for various months, to be frank, working out what I should do. But the result I think that we've got there looks as good as we could possibly get. We're true along here. I'm going to put insulated plasterboard along the top. That's just sitting on there. Insulated plasterboard along the front face here as well. Underneath, the challenge I've got is there's not a lot of room, so I'm going to put some thin 9.5mm plasterboard on the bottom there. I might put some expanding foam in where the gaps are, but this steel is effectively inside the building, so you can see the steels have been built into the inner leaf of the building. And what I did on the outside between the top and bottom of the window was I again built a wooden box out of OSB, filled that with Celotex, and then went all around the gaps with expanding foam. So we've tried to make sure that all of that steel is effectively inside the warm envelope of the building. So, you know, really frustrating to have to do all of that work. If someone had just put the steel in straight in the first place, we wouldn't have had to go through all of that effort. And I've also got the challenge later on as to how we fit other things. So you can see that the builder did put a piece of timber across here that we've been able to put things to. I was able to, for these packers, to use a construction adhesive, but also screw up into the battens that I've got here and on the other side of the steel. So we've managed to get good fixings for that. We will be putting electric blinds on here later, so I've got some of these self-drilling screws so that we might be able to tap through into the steel to hold that, because we've not really got enough material in the wood here to secure those blinds. But you know, overall pretty pleased with what we've got there. I'm going to get that closed up and boxed, and I'll perhaps put a picture of that at the end of this video. The only other work that we need to do is just a bit of dot and dabbing on that wall. I need to just finish the returns on these Velux windows, and we're ready to get this room plastered. So really quite pleased with the results that we got with all of that. On this face we put Celotex with Gapo tape, 100mm deep, into the wood that's behind that steel, and again this insulated plasterboard here. So we've got a lot of insulation on that side. I just need to box this side in. I may use a bit of insulated plasterboard on that surface there. I'll just have to decide that when I do that. But that's effectively going to have, you know, 300mm of insulation up in the loft around it as well. So you can see that the kitchen is pretty much finished now. I think some of you saw some of that on previous videos. Just going to wait and fix the trim, as I said, on that later on. And we've had a lot of work done in the garden as well. So those of you who've watched previously will know we had a 11.5 cubic metre soak away to go in the garden. So there's a big hole with that in it there. I'll come back to other challenges we had around the pitch fibre pipe, and we had to replace our sewer drain out to the main sewer. But there's lots of work that I'll be covering in the next few weeks here. We're going to have a retaining wall put in across the front of the doors here, and a patio put in, patio along the side of the building, and a new wall and garden gates to give access for vehicles to get into the back garden. That you've given. If any of you have got suggestions of how we could have done that still better, love to hear them. We really struggled with working out what was going to be the best thing to do there. So if you haven't subscribed already, please click the button to do so, and please like this video. I think we're up at something like 700 or 800 followers now, so lots of people are interested in the journey that we're having here on the renovation and project in down here in Dorset. Thank you.